There's nothing quite like the holiday season. It's the best time of the year, but also far and away one of the most hectic. Simplify what you eat with Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service. My wife's a teacher, and Factor's had her covered for lunches at school. The jalapeno cheddar chicken is her favorite meal so far, while I've quickly taken to the creamy Parmesan chicken and green pepper and beef casserole as Ole Miss football rings in the postseason and it's prime recruiting season. We haven't skipped a beat at our house because we can rely on Factor. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes. All you have to do is heat and enjoy. What are you waiting for? Head on over to factormeals.com/TOC50 and use our special Talk of Champions promo code TOC50 to get 50% off. That's right. Factormeals.com/TOC50 and promo code TOC50 to get 50% off. Continue to support your wellness goals while feeling your best this holiday season. Try Factor today, a proud sponsor of the Talk of Champions podcast network.
Welcome to Not Committed. I'm your host, Zach Berry. Joining me, as always, Ben Garrett. We are here to get into the portal that is portaling. It's been a busy week for Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin has been all over the place. Ben wrote about that yesterday. You can read about it at omspirit.com, an affiliate of On3. Deep dive. Follow the visits. Follow the photos, as Lane Kiffin was being cryptic and silly on Twitter. But we love him for it, and we are here to decipher it. Ben, good morning. How are we doing?
My back has been thrown out for days.
I broke my back.
I broke my back. I've been laid up for 2 days with I'm too old for this. I'm too old and fat for this. I gotta make some life changes. But other than that, I'm good. What's up?
Good, man. You need to get one of those inversion tables. That'll help.
No, what I need to do is lose like 50 pounds. Maybe this back falling apart is just what I needed. The kick in the pants I needed to get my butt up and get moving. I don't know. That's not why we're here today. We're here to talk about Ole Miss recruiting. And like you said, the portal is portaling. Ole Miss has had visitors in this weekend. Who's the #1 name on your board right now?
In the portal, I'd probably say it's Chris Paul Jr., Arkansas linebacker, scheduled to be in town. As we record this Thursday morning, he will be in town Friday, so tomorrow. That's the main one. Carter Smith will be in town with him as well. Ole Miss is trying to get several other portal guys in town this weekend or, today, as quick as possible. But I'd probably say those two guys are the main ones that I'm keeping an eye on. Kiffin has gone and seen them in person this week, probably doing, kind of a final interview type deal, making sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. Outside of that, though, the #1 name on my board, not necessarily commit watch, but obviously is the #1 player in the country, #1 player in the portal, Walter Nolen. You and I both reported it earlier this week. It was expected. Ole Miss was mobilizing the efforts, and he officially got in the portal yesterday afternoon. Ole Miss and Oregon quickly have emerged as, I guess we can call them favorites. If anybody is connected, it's Jerry Hamilton of On3, national college football recruiting analyst. Mostly covers Texas, but he knows everybody. He's been in the business forever. Yesterday, he said to keep an eye on Oregon and Ole Miss. Texas, Bo Davis, he is trying to get Walter Nolan in for a visit. They have not got one confirmed or scheduled yet. But Nolan and his dad are going through that process right now. I talked to a couple people in Memphis, as Walter Nolan is from the Olive Branch area. He played high school with Olive Branch, went to St. Benedict at Cordova, right outside suburb of Memphis. So I talked to a couple former coaches and some people around Memphis. They say that the previous recruitment, sure, there might be some teams that were in it that might be back in it, but none of that is going to have any bearing on what he's doing now. This is obviously a business decision, as NIL be involved, but he is looking for a place to go play quickly, play around people that will make him better, and play with a staff that's going to develop him and get him ready for the NFL. So, yeah, Ole Miss is in it for sure, definitely. We'll see what they can do. Now, you broke down the tweets yesterday. Say give like a Cliff Notes version of kind of your deciphering of Kiffin's tweets yesterday. That were the timing was interesting.
The Moneyball gifts are obviously in reference to Walter Nolan, and there's a reason why I wrote on Monday. He's not officially in, but if he does get in, which is what the reporting around Texas A&M is leading to, that Ole Miss would be a leading candidate for him. I mean, everybody wanted him to come out of high school as the number one prospect in 2022. But more than that, like he's originally from right up the road in Olive Branch. He addresses their biggest need. This would be the biggest get, inarguably a top 5 get for Lane Kiffin in his 4+ years at Ole Miss in the portal. Jerry Hamilton, following up on previous reporting of ours, really confirmed that. And I think the most telling thing is he didn't include Texas, and he covers Texas, right? I mean, Texas, I've heard, is going to drop an absolute bag on Walter Nolan. But I think Ole Miss is in a really good place. I'm not going to say that Ole Miss is going to land him, but yes, it's a real possibility, and it would be a huge get. It'd be probably the biggest defensive get since Kim Dichie, maybe.
Well, yeah, this is the number one player in the country. That's what I wrote earlier this week. A decade ago, Ole Miss landed the number one player in the country. Could they do it again? 10 years, 11 years later, whatever. I mean, yeah, he is a first-round NFL talent. People that scout and know college football way more than you and I do say that he is a surefire NFL player. 6'4", 290. I mean, he had I looked it up last night. I mean, good numbers for a guy that was banged up, missed, I can't remember which game he got hurt in. If it was Alabama, I think it was Alabama. He missed, I think, half of that game, but he had really good numbers for an interior defensive lineman that played on a defensive line that has other NFL players on it. I mean, honestly, kind of eerily similar to the Kim Dichie's, stat lines when he was at Ole Miss. Didn't have the gaudy tackle numbers, but he was a guy that just ate up space and ate up bodies because he had to be accounted for. Walter Nolan is a difference maker. Wherever he goes, he will be a guy that people will plan around because he is just a disruptor. He will be in your backfield. He will be setting up shop in your backfield if you do not double team it. He's good enough. He can get off blocks, super athletic. I mean, he is a game changer. Like, he is a surefire. If Ole Miss gets him, he will start next year next to J.J. Pegues, and they will be hell together.
No doubt. I mean, he addresses the biggest need that Ole Miss has this portal cycle. They're not big game hunting for quarterbacks. Ole Miss, in terms of a plug-and-play guy, the missing piece, that's Walter Nolan. Put him right beside J.J. Pegues. And I think back to the Georgia game, Ole Miss needed size, needed a big body plugger, space eater like you were speaking on. And they tried it with Josh Harris, who was recruited to be that for them, signed out of the portal last year from NC State, to be that space-eating tackle. Jared Ivey played a lot of D-tackle this year out of necessity because they just didn't have that kind of impact in the interior. So Walter Nolan is that. He's the number one guy on the board. He's the one I'm most paying attention to right now. And I think Ole Miss is well positioned. But like I said, everybody wants Walter Nolan. And in the portal, in portal recruiting, you can never count anything done until it's done. And I don't think this is anywhere close to done. I mean, we've been talking about Deion Smith eventually being an Ole Miss Rebel for so long, for over a year. It's finally happened. It did happen. But with portal recruiting, the point is you just can't assume anything. You can't expect. Ra Thomas is another good example of this, the wide receiver from Mississippi State. Georgia's not really all that active in the portal. They pick and choose. Unfortunately for Ole Miss, Ra gets in. The expectation is Ole Miss was the favorite and that he would ultimately end up there. But then Georgia swoops in and locks him up, and Ole Miss has to pivot. So there could be some of that happening this cycle. But if you're wondering, with all these names you're hearing, where it starts with Ole Miss, it's Walter Nolan. That's why we started there. But Key Lawrence, the safety from Oklahoma, is another one that visited this week that I think is close. You mentioned Pooh Paul, the linebacker from Arkansas. He's coming in this weekend. Carter Smith. What they're doing right now is reinforcing a playoff caliber team to make the best possible run for the playoff and a national championship next year. And Walter Nolan's where it starts.
I want to go back to what you said about talking about Ra Thomas last year. I mean, you can look at the high school ranks for that as well, where, this cycle and a couple cycles ago, speaking of Georgia, Ole Miss had A.D. Mitchell. He was committed to Ole Miss. Georgia swoops in, offer, boom, goes to Georgia. Same thing this year. Caleb Odom. Dude was all Ole Miss. There was no doubt. Only program recruiting him as a receiver. Loved Lane Kiffin. Everything about the program. Visited several times. I mean, the back-to-back weekends, unofficial, then unofficial. Bama, though, comes in, gives him an offer. It's over. So sometimes you win those. I think Ole Miss is going to win head-to-head against Bama for Keelan Lacey. We'll get into that in a minute. But, yeah, it's the mobilization of collectives and the pre-portaling, if you want to call that, the tampering. People need to get over that. It happens. Everyone's doing it. That's as common.
Quite literally
now.
Every school, every single school.
Dude, I said that on this show last week or this week. I reached out to so many guys on Monday when the portal opened. Like Saturday and Sunday. And guys were responding to me and they were like, hey, I'll talk to you on Monday when it's official, but I've already heard from, and they would tell me like 7 schools.
It's happening everywhere. Every school and every prospect has an idea when they go in. Otherwise, it'd be completely impossible for them to even figure out or to sort through all the options that they have. Some guys get in and they get 40 offers within an hour. Like, how do you make sense of that? How do you pack a recruitment into 2 months? So
yeah,
the tampering, unfortunately, is very real. It's 100% real, but also it's a byproduct of the NCAA shittiness. When I'm looking at targets for Ole Miss right now in the transfer portal, the ones I feel are at the hottest: Walter Nolan, Key Lawrence, Pooh Paul. I'm trying to decide on the wide receivers. How many do we think they're going to take?
Obviously, it depends on Trey Harris and Jordan Watkins because Dayton Wade's already announced he's leaving. I mean, right now, the receivers, Juice Wells for sure. They want him.
Yeah, and so does Texas and Tennessee.
Jamori Macklin from North Texas. Hasn't scheduled a visit yet, but they offered him.
They absolutely love that kid.
Haven't heard anything about a visit, but you and I both heard Raylan Sharp, the Missouri State slot guy. They
Will
like him.
Shepard.
Yeah,
he's a stud. He's one of Ben's studs for 2023 portal recruiting. I love Will Shepard.
Dude's a freak. I don't know if Georgia's going to get a 2-for-1 from Vandy. They're going to get London Humphreys. I mean, you want to talk about pre-portaling. He gets in the portal, and then, Georgia's already reporting, oh, well, he's going to visit Georgia this weekend. Oh, well.
Yeah. Wow. Georgia works quick, don't they? Holy cow.
I mean, that's like the tampering thing. Like, okay, yeah, Alabama's got a playoff game to prepare for. But what do you think the 30 analysts that they have on staff are doing this whole time? They're tampering. Kiffin was in New Orleans. I would imagine he was checking in with Chris Brazzell II, the Tulane wideout, that's really good player. Raymond Cottrell got in the portal really early, A&M wideout. Haven't heard any traction on him. I know Ole Miss has contacted him, but no visit scheduled yet. But, I mean, there's going to be more guys that get in the portal.
The Indiana wide receiver. They're bringing in Carter Smith this weekend, the offensive lineman, but they got a wide receiver converted quarterback whose name escapes me. I wrote about him actually yesterday, but there's so many names.
McCulley.
Yeah, that's another one. They love him. I mean, he's a big body, 6'5", 220.
Was a 4-star quarterback, I believe. Coming out of high school, converts, and go figure, a really good athlete's a good wide receiver once he figures it out. Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. It's going to depend on Trey Harris and Jordan Watkins. I know Trey is pretty quiet on social media. He didn't do a lot. Watkins put out a tweet earlier this week. The roster retention is so big right now. That's probably more of the bulk of the work that Ole Miss is doing. It's trying to keep guys. Quinshon Judkins, Jackson Dart.
Well, if you remember last month, I said a lot of the money that's coming off the books, you'll see $200,000 that was allocated for Spencer Sanders, right, to be the most expensive backup in Jackson Dart insurance policy in the country last year. Just because that comes off doesn't mean Ole Miss can go, okay, all right, let's go get a wide receiver and an offensive lineman from the portal. A lot of that money immediately goes to retention of current roster, but you've got to make decisions based off that. All right, here are the options available, and here's what we have. Should we go up with this guy, which might mean that it costs us this guy or is this guy better? So those are hard decisions that have to be made too. This is standing on business, man. I expect Trey Harris to go pro. I expect Jordan Watkins to get a pay bump in NIL and stay at Ole Miss. I expect Ole Miss to sign probably 3 out of the portal. Which 3? I don't know, but 3. And that's not counting Deion Smith, who's already committed. They could really make their biggest, I guess, headline-grabbing moves at wide receiver in terms of the quality they bring in and what they already have returning. But when you think about all these guys we're talking about, Key Lawrence is another one, the safety from Oklahoma, like I mentioned, and Pooh and Walter Nolan. Of all these other guys, though, even the wide receivers, the one to me that matters the most is Walter Nolan. That's the one that matters the most because if you're trying to beat Alabama, if you're trying to beat Georgia, especially Georgia, when they threw Josh Harrison their first play and he gets blown off the line for 6 yards, and I don't think Georgia saw a third down until after half. Maybe it was one before half. Yeah. It was absurd. The dominance.
We were counting them.
Yeah, on the line of scrimmage. And that's where if they really want to be a contender, everything else is in place. They got the quarterback. Cam Ward would be fun as hell. But Ole Miss chose Jackson Dart of Cam Ward 2 years ago, right? Dylan Gabriel, that ship sailed a long, long time ago. Outside of that, Riley Leonard, Jackson Dart and Riley Leonard about the same to me, I guess, Like Jackson Dart, if he were in the portal, would be one of the top 3 guys in the portal in the quarterback class, which is already really strong. So the fact that they stay out of that market, the running back situation, they're going to have to bump up Quinshawn. That's going to be a hard renegotiation because they're hard negotiators, the Judkinses,
I was talking with somebody yesterday. They were like, Ole Miss gets a generational talent running back, and his mother's an attorney.
Oh, yeah.
So, she knows how to negotiate.
And Mama Q knows the value. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She knows the value. So that all comes into play as well. That's why I want people to understand that. While all these names sound sexy and great and everything, and the Grove Collective, the giving has been great, and Ole Miss fans need to continue to do that. You got to understand as well, a lot of what's important is why I said it a month ago. A lot of what's going to happen as far as the money coming off the books is going toward player retention because Ole Miss already has a really good roster, really good top end roster at least. Maybe depth they don't have it, but they have a really good top end roster. Now it's about making sure they're spending the money wisely because Ole Miss is not Georgia, Ole Miss is not Alabama, Ole Miss does not have infinite amounts of money. But Ole Miss is in a really good place, has really good footing, and can go address needs this portal cycle. And if they hit correctly, next year could be a lot of fun. And for me, like I said, it starts with Walter Nolan.
Everybody has a price. Everybody's going to want their money. But I think Nolan's a player that it announces Ole Miss's arrival as a legitimate Tier 1 team, college football playoff contender. And I think it would be an alarm, a siren that would go off to the rest of the country and other portal guys like, hey, Ole Miss is, what is it? The LeBron James tweet from a decade ago? Like, Ole Miss ain't playing around today. Like, it would be that. Like, oh, damn. Like, they got Walter Nolan. Like, okay. Like, Ole Miss is for real. And that's like all the jokes that were going around yesterday about A&M players leaving because some promises weren't kept. The Grove Collective has been upfront and honest with everybody about their value. Yep. They have followed through with promises, with contracts, with whatever. So I think that's big. Like that's a reputation for a collective. Like, hey, you can come here, you're going to get paid, and you're going to play, and you're going to compete for the SEC, and you're going to, when the playoffs expanded, you're going to be in it. So I think that's huge.
Ole Miss last portal cycle paid less than what the kids were being offered. Those kids came to Ole Miss for all but 2 kids. All but 2 of them. Paid under market rate and got them to come to Ole Miss because Ole Miss, like you said, the reputation is there. Florida has dealt with it, the skeezy reputation of, they make a lot of promises now, but what are you going to actually get? Texas A&M, I think you're seeing a little bit of that as well. Ole Miss, the offer initially might be trumped by whatever Texas A&M or Florida or whoever these schools that promise the moon. Mm-hmm. But whatever Ole Miss says it's going to pay, it pays. And that, for prospects, especially in the portal, that certainty and guarantee is really valuable. And that's why you've seen Ole Miss have a lot of success because Ole Miss, and it's very simple, but it works. It's tried and true. It does what it says it's going to do. The fact that Ole Miss has developed that reputation is what led to the Grove Collective being one of the more successful collectives, at least operationally, in the country. They don't have the most money, but the operation is so sound and strong that Ole Miss can get done what it needs to get done every single portal cycle, and the legwork being laid. Guys like Jordan Watkins still being in the fold, Jackson Dart, Quinshawn Judkins, keeping him, because don't think that schools haven't tampered like hell to get that kid. I mean, it's not just Auburn
tampered
either.
For 2 years.
Yeah, for 2 years. I mean, this is a safe place for transfers to come. There's a reason why you're seeing like all these lists and shit, and has Ole Miss as the number one place to transfer to, because you're playing at the highest level. And while you might not be getting the millions that Bryce Young got, well, by God, you're getting paid this, and you're getting it. Caden Priestcorn was expected to go pro after this year. The injuries piled up, but a man that's married and has got a kid, the security that Ole Miss is offering him, that's value.
I feel like that's big. Like that reputation is going to pay dividends in the future, because everybody knows about Lane Kiffin, players coach, kids love him. I talk to prospects all the time, and they say, yeah, like he's all, goofy and, talk shit on Twitter and, trolls people, but like in person, like he's a very business-like attitude, wants to talk ball, really laid back, chill. But when it comes to the portal, if you come to Ole Miss and you can play, if you know the playbook, if you prepare, you do all the work, you're going to step in. I mean, you look at a guy like Dayton Wade, walk on, came in, worked his ass off, got a scholarship, and over 700 yards receiving this year, and now, positioned himself to where his stock is high enough to where he feels comfortable to leave and try his hand at the NFL. Trey Harris, same thing. At Louisiana Tech, good player. Ole Miss, hey, come here. You can be a dude. You'll be our number one guy. We'll get you ready for the NFL. And, he has a chance, if he wants, to leave after the Peach Bowl and go pro.
The car buying process can be a lot. I know, I've been there. You just want to get in and out with a new car and the best deal. Simple. Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Oxford keeps it simple. They're going to take care of you, get you in and out with your new vehicle with a great deal. Their inventory right now is priced to sell, and what separates Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Oxford from any and all competitors is they aim to address each of your needs with the utmost respect, care, and attention to detail. Contact them today at 662-234-8000. That's 662-234-8000. Stop by and see them in person at 2201 East University Avenue in Oxford. That's Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram of Oxford to find your next perfect car, truck, or Jeep. Allen Samuels, let's be friends.
Introducing the new and improved BNA Bank mobile app. From setting transaction alerts and tracking your spending habits to managing travel plans and turning off a lost or stolen debit card, you can take care of all of it in the new BNA mobile app. At BNA Bank, we know that life moves pretty fast, and we have the mobile technology to keep up with your life on the go. BNA Bank. Local, invested, modern banking.
The Talk of Champions podcast network is brought to you in part by the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation. It's getting close to the end of 2023. And if you need to make year-end donations for tax purposes, call the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation and they'll walk you through their philanthropic giving initiatives. Whether it's the Vault Society or Empower, both initiatives give you a tax-deductible way to support the Champions Now campaign for Ole Miss Athletics. Or if you're working on estate planning, call the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation to discuss Forever Ole Miss. For further information, call 662-915-7159. That's 662-915-7159. Or visit givetoathletics.com. That's givetoathletics.com. It's the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation, a proud sponsor of the Talk of Champions podcast network.
Let's talk a couple high school guys before we close up shop here. Hugh and Lacey put in my pick last night. A lot of movement around that recruitment this week. Lane Kiffin, Kevin Smith, Kelvin Bolden went to see him last Friday for his last high school game. All three were there on the sidelines, on the field, talking with the coaches. And then Ole Miss was back there this week. Kelvin Bolden was in Dallas last night at the Mavericks game, not that far from Lancaster. Also not that far from Texas A&M. Right now, I think Ole Miss has taken the lead, and I think that they're going to get it done. You mentioned hey, come be the heir apparent to Quinshon Judkins. He talks about, or he has talked about when I spoke with him earlier this year, he sees some similarities in his game with Judkins. He likes Lane Kiffin and how he utilizes weapons in his offense. He thinks that it's a good spot for him. He really likes Kevin Smith. They've recruited him for a long, long time. Enrique Davis has been in this recruitment. He's been involved big time. When he showed up for his official visit in Oxford, got the, 5-star, red carpet treatment, all of that. They have made it very clear to him that he is their number one guy at running back and probably their number one guy on the board. So as of today, 10:54 a.m. local time, Thursday, December 7th, I think Keelan Lacey will sign with Ole Miss. Alabama, obviously, they're in the mix. Nick Saban, his track record of running backs, NFL, all of that program is the best program in the country. He's the best college football coach of all time. It's a loud resume, but I think Ole Miss, with the combination of the consistency of being front-facing in that recruitment and the collective being very aggressive and, like you said, the reputation of the collective is huge here. And I think Ole Miss is going to get it done.
I don't disagree. I will say this, though. I can already see it on the message board. Guys, you hear? Ben and Zach are predicting Walter Nolan, Keelan Lacey, Will Shepard, Chris Brazzell. It's not going to be everybody, but it is a good time. As of today, Ole Miss is kind of cooking.
Yeah, they really are. Speaking of cooking, hey, one last high school guy we can talk about. I just put it up on the site. You can read it there. Marcellus Barnes, 4-star corner from Macaulay School in Chattanooga. He is going to officially visit Syracuse this weekend. Fran Brown, who was the corner backs coach at Georgia, took the head coaching job there. He really likes Fran. Really good relationship there. I talked with him Thursday after his state championship game. He said that he was wanting to go check it out. Obviously wants to go hear out Coach Brown, see the place. And I still think this is Ole Miss, Georgia. Because again, I don't know if you've ever been to Syracuse, but it's way the hell up there and it's a different world. When I spoke with him on Thursday, he talked a lot about he really likes the SEC, the prospect of playing in the SEC, getting developed, preparing for the NFL. He thinks that, whether it's Georgia or Ole Miss, both staffs could prepare him, help him get better as a player, as a person, all of that. Maybe he's just throwing a bone to Coach Fran and just wants to go see him. That's his guy. Maybe not. Maybe the Orange are a legit contender now. We'll see after this weekend, but Ole Miss is definitely trying to get him in for an official visit. He told me he will definitely visit Ole Miss in Georgia, and then he'll make a decision. Right now, if you ask me, I think it's a matter of if he's a take at Georgia. And that's not a knock on him as a player. It's just Georgia is Georgia, and they're going to get everybody they want. I don't even know if it's necessarily him being over-recruited. I think it might just be a numbers game. So we'll see there. They did lose Nyland Green this week, a former 5-star corner. He got in the portal. So numbers-wise, it could work out to where he is a take. Kind of the loophole in the system. Thursday night when I was there, coaches weren't allowed to be there. December 1st was, the contact, observation, whatever period. But Baylor School's quarterback is Whit Muschamp, and his dad is Will Muschamp. So Will Muschamp was in attendance for that game. Talked to him afterwards. So he got to see Marcellus Barnes in person. He had a great game. had an interception, a couple pass breakups against Amari Jefferson, who is a Alabama commit. He had a great game. So Will Muschamp got a chance to see him in person. Maybe that was the audition to whether or not Georgia will take him or not. We'll see. But for this weekend, he will go to Syracuse, and then we'll see if he gets an official setup to Ole Miss or Georgia after. But probably it right now as far as high school. I mean, Stonka Burnside's still out there. I'll say this: Mississippi State's got to get a quarterback. I know they're going to pony up with NIL and they're going to try to keep him. Jeff Lebby, that's the guy Jeff Lebby has to get, or people are going to be pissed. Maybe they get it done, maybe they don't. They got to get a quarterback, though. I mean, Ole Miss has their quarterback. They've got quarterbacks for the future. So Stonka Burnside knows that he will be taken care of and he will be getting the football delivered to him in an effective way at Ole Miss. Lebby's got to find a quarterback. It's not going to be Dylan Gabriel. We'll see who it's going to be. I mean, there's quarterbacks on the board still, but they're starting to dominoes are falling. Quarterbacks are starting to be spoken for. So we'll see, but it's probably it right now in the high school ranks, unless you're hearing anything different or hearing anyone else. But
I'm all portal all the time right now. This is portal season for me. I'm not going to write about any high school stuff unless it's like required. I'll be up at the inn at Ole Miss on Sunday to talk to visitors as they leave. I mean, it's all portal all the time right now. And I wanted to take us out because I know we got to go. So I wanted to take us out with this. Give me one bold prediction apiece. You give yours, I'll give mine. Give me the one bold prediction that you're willing to make on December. What is this? The 7th, 2023? Yeah. December 7th, 2023. The one Ole Miss football recruiting bold prediction you're willing to make right now is what?
And I'm assuming this means portal recruiting related.
I'm just asking you for one bold prediction from Zach Berry for Ole Miss football recruiting that you're willing to make on December 7th, 2023. I'll make mine.
Okay,
Walter Nolan will be an Ole Miss Rebel. That's bold.
That's what mine was going to be.
I guess we've already kind of done our bold predictions because you said that you think Ole Miss is going to end up getting Keywan Lacey.
Okay, yeah. So that's mine. You said, well, I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, they are in it and then some for Walter Nolan. Pete Golding being on staff is huge here.
Well, see, and that's more bold because I think they're closer to landing Chris Paul, who, in my opinion, is a linebacker from Arkansas, will have as significant, if not more so, than most anybody else they signed this portal cycle at linebacker, another need area for them. But it's not bold to say that because he's visiting this weekend. Ole Miss is far and away the leader for him. So you're not really going out on much of a ledge. You're still kind of going out on a ledge to say Walter Nolan will be an Ole Miss Rebel, but I just think that's the one for them this portal cycle. There's the quarterback cycle. There was the Canadian cycle where they went and got Dean Leonard and Tavius Robinson. This is they need a big space eating baller of a defensive line. Unfortunately, defensive tackle. Unfortunately, they already got the quarterback and they're going to get wide receivers. They never have a problem getting wide receivers. Deion Smith was the biggest wide receiver they're going to get anyway. And I'd be thrilled to death to see Ole Miss get Juice Wells, Will Shepard, Chris Brazzell, and Deion Smith. But Deion Smith was the one you had to have him. You had to have him. So that's not as pressing as what this is. So that's not going out on much of a ledge. Say, oh, yeah, they'll get another 2 or 3 stud wide receivers. Walter Nolan's still a ledge. So I'm going out on it, and you're going out on Keywan Lacey. So here we go. We've set ourselves up. I could hear it already. Somebody's going to be on a message board somewhere and say, well, Ben and Zach says we're getting Walter Nolan and Keywan Lacey. I'm not reporting that that's going to happen. But if you made me guess today, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, I do want to remind you the show brought to you every single day by Homefield Apparel. Go to homefieldapparel.com. Check out the Ole Miss collection. If you haven't done so already, promo code TOC23, 15% off your first purchase. And today, as part of the 12 days of Homefield, if you don't already have the app, you got to get it. Probably one of the best apps out there, and I'm not just saying that because they're a sponsor of the show. It is incredibly done, seamless. The interface is super easy. It's great. Today, December 7th, Thursday, they're having a sale on the app, 20% off everything. If you're on the app, use code APP20. That's APP20. App exclusive sale, 20% off everything. They'll get you some Ole Miss merch. They got t-shirts, they got hoodies, quarter zips. The bomber jacket is sick. And hey, go out there and get some other stuff. They got hats, joggers. I actually finally pulled the trigger, copped a sick Washington State Cougars shirt with the rose, like the Cougars script with the rose that they had on the helmet in the Rose Bowl. And got an Oregon shirt. The T-shirts are top notch. Some of the best shirts out there. Super comfortable. Quality's great. Yeah, app sale on the app only today. Promo code APP20 for 20% off everything on the app. So go take advantage of that. So, Ben, as always, it was a pleasure. Take some ibuprofen, man. Do some stretching.
A name just came through as we were recording that I was told, hey, keep an eye on this one if he hits the portal. UCF defensive back Corey Thornton has gotten in. Ole Miss is the overwhelming favorite, I think, to land him.
All right, there you go.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Breaking news. Ben Garrett and Zach Berry of the Ole Miss Spirit reporting the Rebels are poised to land former 5-star number 1 overall prospect Walter Nolan, as well as 5-star running back in Alabama lean Kewan Lacey. But on top of that, we're really setting ourselves up for this. You know that, right? Like, we're going to get lit up.
It's a pretty good little. Well, the young whippersnapper from Lancaster
The
High
young
School
whippersnapper from
that was good.
New Albany, Mississippi. His name is. And if they don't blame us, please. Please don't. Please don't.
And hey, also, podcast brought to you by the folks at College Corner.
Yes.
Go there. They got bowl gear. Scott texted me yesterday. They got new hats in. They're going to get more bowl gear as the weeks go on, heading into December 30th. Before you go to Atlanta, go check out
College Corner.
Sisk Avenue.
That's good.
Or go to the website, get you some swag. Or if you just want to get gifts for folks for Christmas, for Hanukkah, whatever, go on there, check out all of the swag. They got gifts, they got tailgating supplies, gear, Real Tree, they got it all. College Corner, go check it out. Another name before we head out, Trevor Etienne is in the portal. I don't know if Ole Miss will pursue, but that's just, the portal's just crazy. Just another.
Who's that? Have we put that Florida linebacker? What's his name? Number 1. He's one we need to be picked. Yes.
Umanian?
I didn't want to butcher his name like you did. So, yeah. Him.
Umanian?
Is he on the hot list yet? Because he needs
just
to
call him. Yeah, he is. Ole Miss is
good.
Ole Miss is gonna try. Everybody will as well. But yeah, please just Pete, I know you're listening. Just get him so we can just make all the Prince jokes and use Prince gifts next year.
Prince is the greatest pop star of all time. I saw Prince play Purple Rain in the Rain at a Super Bowl in Miami, live in person.
You were actually there for that?
Yeah, changed my life. My dad he's one of those old Ole Miss fans, so he never really truly appreciated Eli or went to his Super Bowls. But when Peyton got to his, the prodigal sons in the Super Bowl, we gotta go.
That's not committed. It's Ben Garrett over there. Get well, get that back. Gotta get tight, man. You gotta get some. Maybe go do some yoga with Lane Kiffin. Get you right.
I need an exorcism.
Podcast. Get the demons out of you. We'll have more podcasts this week. So stay locked in. omspirit.com. Recruiting, portaling, everything is there and more. Peach Bowl prep, basketball. We got you covered. Thanks, buddy. We'll do it again soon.
All right, buddy.